Everyone is born an artist. Take a moment to imagine a child who doesn't paint, sing, or dance. Doesn't something feel deeply wrong? Is it possible that, like many, you would conclude such a child is disconnected, perhaps even traumatized, separated even from their core essence? Why then have we made it acceptable to divorce ourselves from our inner creative? What makes it more palatable for us to be alienated from this essential part of ourselves as adults? Why hasn't there been a transformative shift in education to address the astonishing statistic that 98% of individuals assessed as 5-year-olds exhibit genius-level creative problem-solving skills using imagination, yet just 2% of us retain such levels of creative genius in adulthood? In the words of Lennon, every child is an artist until he's told he's not an artist. When we discard and disregard our inner creative, we engender an orphaned part within us, a part that through our neglect seeks compensation in unknown and far-reaching ways. I propose that this plays out in our bodies, our mental health, our relationships, and even in our addictive behaviours. As a survivor of childhood trauma entering adolescence, art and creativity became not only my therapy, but my very survival. However, as I entered adulthood and motherhood, I relinquished the compulsion to paint for more important priorities. I bought into the belief that art is not a worthy use of my time, much less a worthy career. As a young adult and a young mother, I considered it highly indulgent or plain impossible for me to spend hours painting. Well, this is where it led me. With no functional way of processing emotions in my body, wearing my brave face daily, with 3 young children and a lifetime of undigested trauma, my body kept the score. The echoes of unaddressed trauma manifested as severe digestive issues, debilitating pain, and a struggle to function in everyday life. What took me from that to this was accomplished in the most part by letting go, by picking up the brush after a decade and painting my story. Here, my unconscious revealed itself to me. My paintbrush spoke for me and expressed what words couldn't. This painting became a crucial tool in helping me process my experience of breaking my silence to the Royal Commission into institutional childhood sexual abuse. This became the catalyst for finding my voice and speaking up for the very first time to everyone in my life, thereby releasing shame. Most importantly, this painting showed me the necessity of continuing to paint. Now, I know many of you might reject the notion that you are an artist and possess creative genius by default. You might look at this painting and wonder, believing it to be entirely out of your realm of capability. You might even question the value that such a skill could bring to your life. You might be content knowing what you're good at, with art just not being one of them. And you may even protect this identity and be the one that proclaims, I don't have an artistic bone in my body, or I can only draw stick figures. But let me ask you this. If by the age of 10 you weren't reading or writing, wouldn't there be a host of concerned supporters ensuring you didn't get left behind? I argue that learning to solve creative problems like composition, perspective, and proportion is as essential as reading and writing. Contrary to the notion of the gifted artist, if you can sign your name and move in a straight line, you can draw. It is a teachable skill that we are inherently wired for and all have equal ability to access with the right instruction. Within a societal structure that relegates the arts to a certain level of frivolity, there is no compelling need to develop these skills, and there is no expectation to keep working on them until we have accomplished them. The widely held belief that you either have it or you don't perpetuates this idea, reinforced by the archetype of the tortured artist with an elusive gift or talent. While it is true that some might lean more towards artistic pursuits than others, just as some might enjoy reading and writing more, how would you know if you were never given the tools, the identity, and the belief that you were born an artist? How would you know this wasn't the single most meaningful and powerful healing modality in your life? How would you know this wasn't the missing jigsaw piece that made you whole? The tragedy is that if we do not solve the fundamentals of perspective and proportion by the age of 10, our critical left brain takes over, reducing our observations to neat stick figures and symbols. This becomes our artistic ceiling. We never progress in this skill, and we accept the identity of non-artist. The misfortune is that often this sticks for life. On a weekly basis, I uncover one artistic genius after another. As someone who works with individuals, often at rock bottom in their lives, I have the privilege of reintroducing them to their inner artist, the one that was their default state before their critical minds, their trauma, their confirmation bias took over. Teaching portraiture as a means of accessing a state of flow becomes a gateway to transforming people's beliefs about their artistic capacity. This becomes a portal to unleashing their expressive potential and empowers them to tell their stories through art. Initially defending their identity as non-artists, these individuals experience a profound shift when they see their creations looking back at them. Their metamorphosis to artist is irrevocable, and their newfound artistic skills become a conduit for personal growth and confidence in every area of life. Art is, above all, a powerful way of resolving trauma. It gently helps us process life experiences and digest unresolved emotions. It is consciousness informing itself of itself. This is the magic of art. It expresses our story delicately. It creates a cascade of feel-good chemicals while doing so, and will only reveal what we are ready to bring into our conscious awareness. As we reacquaint ourselves with our inner visionary, the idyllic state we inhabited as children before societal pressures intervened, we reprogram our minds. The act of creation grants us access to our potential, our authenticity, and highest expression of ourselves in this life in a way that cannot be attained by other means. By continuing to divorce ourselves from our imagination, we unwittingly seek redress in unforeseen ways, often to our own detriment. If I hadn't turned to art as a teenager, I would have undoubtedly sought solace through other harmful means. Art and creativity allowed me to process what was too overwhelming for me to face cognitively. It is speculated that immense human suffering might have been avoided had Hitler not faced multiple rejections from art school. I pose to you, what if cultivating such skills in your life could spare you and those you love from unnecessary suffering? I imagine a world where every child's creative genius is treasured and safeguarded and allowed to unfold in adulthood. A place where information no longer takes precedence over imagination. Expressing ourselves artistically is not a luxury. It is a necessity. As humans, our innate essence and ultimate purpose is to be creators. What we repress will be expressed, whether it is whispered through our art and creativity or transmuted into illness and suffering. Art is not optional. Art is oxygen.